Happy Wednesday, fellow dreamers, and welcome to Advent. Advent comes from the beginning of the word adventure. And just like if we go on a spelunking adventure, we'll bring some sort of torch or flashlight. In the adventure of Advent, we light candles. Actually, no, that's not true at all. Advent actually comes from the word adveniens. But if I had started with that, then I would sound really nerdy. Adveniens is Latin for coming or approaching. What's coming and approaching right now? What are we waiting for? What are we getting excited for? What is the theme of all the decorations of all the retail stores across America and the world? Christmas, of course. That's right. Advent is a time to get ready for Christmas. Now, as we get ready for Christmas, it's very, very easy to think about all the things that need to happen by Christmas. We need to get all of our Christmas presents in order, send all the Christmas cards, get out the Christmas decorations. Oh, and food is important. Get ready for the food. And then Advent can also be a time of spiritual preparation. I mean, after all, Advent is a word that we use in church a lot. Of course, there's going to be some spiritual significance to the word Advent. And so the obvious way to go about preparing ourselves spiritually for Christmas is to think, what do I want to be like when it comes to be Christmas? And once we have that image in our head, then we can say, what's the difference between me now and this image right here? And now I can take the steps to get to there. Great! But I'm very unconventional, so I'm going to not talk about that strategy. Sometimes as we wait and prepare for things, it can be very easy to lose track of where we are today because we're very focused on where we want to be tomorrow. And that's normal. For example, today I'm thinking a lot about a country swing party that I'm organizing on Friday. And I need to do certain preparations in order to make that country swing party happen on Friday. But there's also certain things about today that it's wise to remember. Last Sunday was the very first Sunday of Advent, the ushering in of this glorious season. And the gospel passage that we read at church was from the Gospel of Luke. It was the Gospel of Luke, chapter 21, verses 25 to 28, and then 34 to 36. I invite you to read that passage. It's great. But here are some highlights. Jesus says to his disciples, "There will be signs of the sun, the moon, the stars. Nations will be in dismay, and people will die of fright. They will see the Son of Man, but when you see these things, stand erect and raise your heads, because your redemption is at hand. Beware that you do not become drowsy and fall into drunkenness and carousing and the anxieties of daily life, for that day will catch you by surprise like a trap. Be vigilant at all times, and pray that you have the strength to stand before the Son of Man." That was a very hasty glossing over of that passage. But the one thing that took me by surprise in this passage was fear. There's going to be big things that happen. And the question is, Peter, are you going to be afraid? It's talking about a time when people are going to be very afraid at this time of seeing God. Another theme of Advent that is less well known than the idea of preparing for Christmas is the theme of preparing for the end of our lives. There is going to be a day when we die and when we see God. And are we going to be afraid on that day? This gospel tells us to stand tall, to be brave. And this gospel also tells us, do not become drowsy, do not fall into carousing and drunkenness. So today we do not fall into carousing and drunkenness and drowsiness. And tomorrow we are not afraid. If we don't follow the advice for today, will we be able to follow the advice for tomorrow? That's a rhetorical question that leads down a different path than I expect to go today, because right now I have a question that I asked of myself. And I asked myself not only, will I be afraid one day, but am I afraid today? My sister Teresa once shared a reflection with me that fundamentally we as human beings do things out of two motivations. We either do things out of love or out of fear. This is my spiritual journal, and this gospel passage reminded me of something I had written down just last Friday. And I asked myself the question, do I want to be healed? This is what I wrote. Do I want to be healed? I don't think I do. Why not? I want to be broken because I want to be taken care of. And that raises the question, do I believe that I'm not already being taken care of? And I think I believe that I'm taking care of myself. But Jesus, you're taking care of me. Help me to see that. I was talking to a priest about these things the other day, and he was talking about how, as human beings, it's really hard for us to accept the idea that God loves us. These themes of God loving me and God healing me are themes that I'll be praying about this Advent. Because fundamentally, that's what Christmas will be about. Christmas is the time when Jesus came to us. God's love came to us. More than anything else at Christmas, what we'll receive is God's love. And yet we can begin to enter into that today. So to prepare to receive God's love at Christmas, I need to learn how to receive God's love today. And ask myself, am I afraid of God's love? Am I afraid of being healed? How do I want to be taken care of? How does God want to take care of me? All right, well, that's a much more serious vlog than when I got covered with human sundae toppings. Let me know if you liked this video, or if you did not. That's the only way I can really know what videos you guys like the most. Please promise me that you'll have a great week. I will see you next Wednesday. Until then, God bless and ciao.